competition on your side of the ball, quarterback, wide receiver? Are you excited to see all the competition?
Yeah, that's a good thing. That's the one thing that the competition should create a more competitive team because they have to show up every day with their A game. They have to show up, focus, and concentrate. Really pay attention in the meetings. Carry what you learn in the meeting out on the practice field. It's just I think the competition makes you a more competitive, offense.
Devontae's gone. How do you? Obviously, it's hard to replace that, but you got a lot of guys coming in.
Well, yeah, we're going to have to replace Devontae with a group of guys. Not, you don't just replace him with one guy, but we think we did really well in recruiting. We really got lucky, with Jaquay, with Paul Harris, and then with Jamari becoming available. And those guys are all veteran guys. They've played in Division I games. And then you add Travion, who's here, already on campus with that crew. That we feel like, another guy, Javante Bagley, who's in our program. He played a little last year. He's bigger. He's faster. He ran a 4.3 40 when we were tested last week. He's a kid that didn't play much last year at all, but we're really excited about him also. So we're going to try to replace Devontae with, a group of guys.
You being familiar with Jamari, what's he going to bring in the receiver position?
Well, just the understanding of the system. He's played in the system, and he had the ability to learn multiple spots. And then, he's a tall, long, fast kid, very competitive. He can jump. I think he has 38-inch vertical when we tested last week. Very long, broad jump. And you add that with him being 6'4". He's just a tremendous football player. I always felt, we got really lucky to get him to play for us there. And I feel the same way now that, for us to get him, to come and play for us here, it's going to really help us.
What's your take on the quarterback competition here?
My take on it?
Yeah. Going into the spring, how do you see that shaping out?
Well, like I said, it's always good to have competition. It forces everybody to really work and be competitive, and every second counts. Every rep counts. You have to really study. You can't have a bad day in the meeting room. I think that's what it brings. That's what it helps with. And then ultimately, I think that what we learned last year with the team that won the national championship is depth at the quarterback position gives you a chance because, they showed that better than anybody. So we're going to, so we're fortunate to have the guys we have in our program. They're all good friends. There's nothing going on in the meeting room where, anybody's going to be torn apart. We're really just trying to get our program in position to win. And I think each one of those kids is concentrating on that and, just looking forward to getting back on the field.
You replace a lot on the offensive line. What's that competition going to look like, and will players move in and out during spring to try different spots?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that you could definitely see some guys playing some different spots. It's nothing to write about every day. It's just that we have to, figure out the pieces of the puzzle, which guy plays which spot, who could play next to each other and benefit from playing next to each other, which guy plays on the strong side, which guy's a quick side player. So you'll probably see some movement throughout the spring with our offensive line, but it's no big deal. It's just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
Get back to one other question about quarterback. How much will missing spring hurt Will, or will it, because he has that experience?
Well, missing the reps always hurts, but I think we've talked about it, I think he can learn a lot, from watching what's going on. And of course, he'll be in every meeting. He'll be responsible for knowing everything that's going on. He just won't take the actual on-the-field reps. I think he can grow a lot mentally, just sitting there, watching.
As you build leaders on your team, on the offensive side of the ball, what does Brandon's return mean at that position specifically?
Well, he's another one. I mean, we talk a lot about the the competition at quarterback and offensive line and receiver, but we've got some guys in here. L.J. Scott is a guy that we like a lot. We always have, like LJ. He's a very mature kid. He understands our system now. He's a physical runner, really good pass protector, and he catches the ball well out of the backfield. And then Jeremy Smith, we were able to bring him in mid-year. He's another, big lower body, fast, competitive kid. And then Malin came in from Northwestern. Malin's another big kid. So there's going to be a lot of competition at that position also. And I think that, I know that Brandon understands that every single day he's going to have to come to play.
I know that we're a long way from August, but what are you already telling your players to expect from the Little Less Champ defense at Auburn?
Well, we're really just concentrating on us. Right now we need to, get ourselves in position to be as competitive as we can be, really become experts at what we're doing, learn our system, understand more about defensive structure, really become fundamentally sound in everything we're doing. So that, that message is the same message that gives you a chance against any defense. If you play your best football, you're as fundamentally sound as you can be. You take care of the football, which is something we'll emphasize every day, and then give your playmakers an opportunity to make plays, and they make the plays, it gives you a chance against any defense. So that's really what we're concentrating on now.
Bobby had talked about moving James Quick and Charles Stanberry both from outside receiver to play a little bit on the slot and from tight end to play a little bit of the slot. What is that going to do for the offense?
Well, just put more weapons on the field. James has been around now, so he understands multiple spots. So he gives us the freedom to move other guys in, to outside spots because he can play inside. And then with Charles, Charles is just such a competitive kid that we have to find ways to get him on the field. He's definitely a matchup problem. He's bigger than most defensive backs, and he's a little more explosive than most linebackers. So he's a hybrid type kid that you got to find ways to use to, he can move the chains for us on third down. So it's just a way of trying to use all the weapons that we have and get them all on the field.